Okay, so good day, and we're now live. So first and foremost, welcome to this video. Our topic for today's video is all about the probability distributions for discrete random variables. So the last time that we have discussed is that we talked about random variables. Okay, when we say random variables, these are variables that have an equally likely possible outcomes. Okay? Because if we're talking about random, kasi baka nako-confuse kayo. Pag sinabi kasing random, di ba parang bigla lang siyang dumarating, bigla na lang siya nag-appear. Anong difference niya doon sa statistics? Statistics and probability, when we're talking about random variables, these are events that the outcome varies, or wherein the outcome varies depende doon sa problem na tinitignan natin. Okay? And ideally, random variables is or are represented with capital letter X or uppercase X or Z, can also use Y, and the actual values that they can take by lower letters such as X and Z. So an example of a random variable or a random event. Yan, let's talk about the random event first. An example of a random event is when we get to roll two fair dice. I have two fair dice right here. This one. This is two fair dice. Just mas malaki siya sa akin. If we are rolling two fair dice, okay, we can have a problem such as we want to find the number of dots, the total number of dots every time we roll a two dice. So let's just illustrate it here. Wag na tayo mag-roll muna ng two dice. Let's just roll, for example, just to illustrate the concept of random variable. Kasi sabi natin, equally likely possible outcome. So, almost equal siya. Ibig sabihin, yung kanyang denominators or yung total possible outcomes niya, pare-pareho. Okay? So, let's say for example, we have an event which is rolling a dice. So, we only have one dice. So, let's draw a dice right here. Hindi perfect yung dice ko Okay, let's say, yeah, this is a dice. And we know that the dice has a 6 face. You have 1 right there, you have 3 here, so 5. Pag inikot mo yan, meron kang 4, meron kang 6, and meron kang 2. Okay, so we have 6 possible outcomes. Our event is rolling a die. And we want to get the random variable wherein we want to get the possible or the probability of getting 1 enrolling a die or 2 enrolling a die. So let's just suppose this is the random event or random variable. Event which is rolling a dice. And let's construct a probability distribution, okay, for the event of rolling a die. So let's illustrate that using a table. So for example, okay, ito na siya. So let X be the event of rolling a die. So how many times can we get, okay, our X here will represent the number of dots that will appear. So let's have the experiments. Okay, on the first, we have the experiment here. Let's just illustrate it. Win natin. Okay, first toss. First roll. And first roll. And then second roll. Third roll. Actually, kahit ilang experiment to, pero syempre, ito na yung pinaka-accurate na experiment natin. fourth roll, fifth roll, and then sixth roll. Kasi hindi pwedeng may madoble kasi nga nag-ano na. Pero pag nag-experiment kayo, madodoble at madodoble yan. Okay? For the first roll, for example, nag-roll tayo. Okay? Ang nakuha natin, halimbawa ni-roll natin ito. Okay, ang nagpakita dun sa top part is 6. So, dun sa first roll ay 6. Dun sa second roll naman, 6 ulit. Okay? Huwag na natin siyang ilagay kasi pareho lang naman. Halimbawa, dun sa second roll natin, meron tayong 4. Dun sa third roll, meron tayong 3. Sa fourth roll, fifth roll, charot, meron tayong 5. And then meron tayong 2 and then 1. These are the number of dots that could possibly appear every time that we roll the dice. Now we want to construct a probability distribution for this random event right here. Itong number of dots dito, ito yung mga tinatawag nating random variable. Ayan. Random variable. Normally, we illustrate the number of variable using the lowercase x. Okay, but the event, we use capital X. So let's just draw a table for this one. So meron na tayong outcome ng experiment. And we would want to denote X as the number of dots. Okay. So we have 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dots, 4 dots, 5 dots, and 6 dots in the event of drawing a dice. Okay, so we want to illustrate how many times na nag-appear or how many times na pwedeng mag-appear. We can only have 1 chance out of 6 chances of getting 1 dito sa ating die. Bakit? Hindi naman pwede na every time na i-roll natin siya, hindi naman pwedeng every time na i-roll natin, dalawang 1 yung mag-a-appear or dalawang ganito face yung mag-a-appear. Kasi isang dice lang naman. So we only have 1 out of 6 equally likely chances of getting 1 every time that we roll the dice. As well as 2. Okay, we have also 1 out of 6 chances. As well as 3. We also have 1 out of 6 chances. As well as 4. As well as 5, and as well as 6. Therefore, this is the mere definition of having or getting an event for a random variable because this probability right here are equally likely possible outcomes. Okay? So kung i-compare natin yung karaniwang definition ng random variable sa definition ng random variable sa statistics, magkaiba siya. Okay, when we say random variable and statistics, these are equally likely possible outcomes, wherein chances may vary depending on the event that we are doing. So let's illustrate this further. Okay, I have an example here of an event of getting a head in tossing a pair of dice. So suppose we have a pair of die. Let me just erase this part right here. And we want to assign or we want to get the event of getting a head in tossing a pair of dice. For example, you have pair of coins rather. For example, we have 2 coins. And we know that each coin has only 2 sides. You only have the tail side and you only have the head side. So kung isang coin lang yung ating tinutos, wait lang. Yan. So kung isang coin lang, okay, yung ating itotos, we will either have a head, or pwede tayong makakuha ng head or a tail. Okay? Sa Tagalog, tao or ibon. Yan lang yung choice natin. Kung isang coin lang yung ating tinutos. Okay? So, yung event ng pagtotos ng coin, ayan, and number of heads. Or, so, ang possible outcomes niyan, so the probability of getting head. Let's say, the probability of getting a head. Ito yung ating probability table. So, for the experiment, dun sa first toss natin, we can have head or tail. You can only have one head, correct? And dun sa second toss, you can only have one tail. So the probability of getting a head, we will only have one out of two possible outcomes. So we have two possible outcomes here. We have H and T. We have head and tail. Meron tayong tao at saka ibon. These are the possible outcomes. And we want to find ano yung chance na makakakuha tayo ng head. So isang beses lang tayo pwedeng makakuha ng head. Therefore, ano yung probability na makakuha tayo ng zero? Wala. Na makakuha tayo ng isang head, we only have one out of two possible outcomes. Kasi yun lang naman yung pwedeng lumabas. Since iisang coin lang naman ito. Okay, these are the possible outcomes. If you want to find the number of or the probability of getting a tail, again, it is still 1 out of 2. Okay, we can illustrate it this way. The probability, P here stands for the probability of getting tail. When we say tail, ng ating ibon, so meron lang tayong isang chance na makakakuha tayo every time na magtotoss tayo kasi dalawa lang naman yung possible outcomes. So, meron lang tayong 1 out of 2 chances. Okay, of getting a tail and the probability of getting head, you only have 1 out of 2 chances. Okay? One way to define this further is the condition that each probability P of X must be between or equal to 0 and 1. So, this is between 0 and 1. Okay, sa number line natin, you have 0 right here. This is 1. So, these are probabilities. Itong side na yan. Hanggang 1. These are the chances. Yan lang. Hanggang dyan lang. From 0 to 1. Yung 1/2 natin is nandito. So, for this one, you have 0 right here. You have 1 right there. The chance of getting a tail is at a 1 or in a 50% chance of process. Ideally, if you're going to add up all the chances, we'll get 1. Okay, that's one of the conditions. The sum of all the probabilities is equal to 1. Okay, so let's have one more example. This one. The event of getting ahead in the event of tossing a pair of coins. Kanina, yung tinos natin is isang coin lang. What if we want to toss a pair of coins? So let's draw 2 coins. Meron tayong 2 coins right there. Okay. And each coin, meron tayong chances of getting either head or a tail, right? Okay. So let's do the experiment. Okay. On the first tosses, outcome, yan. Number of, ano yung kinukuha natin kanina? Sabi niya, number of heads. Number of heads ba? Yung nasa problem yan. Number of head in tossing a pair of coins. So, you want to find the number of heads every time we toss a pair of coins. So, number of head. Okay, so for example, for the first toss will get two heads. Okay, sige. Mag-present tayo dito. Halimbawa, gahang yung laptop. Ay, computer pala. Okay. So, for example, on the first outcome, we'll get two tails. So, ilan ang number of heads doon? Zero. Halimbawa, dalawang tao yung lumabas. Ay, dalawang ibon yung lumabas. So, syempre, walang lumabas na tao. So, therefore, we have zero. On the second toss, let's say meron ng lumabas na isang tao and then meron siyang isang tail. Yung isang coin, heads. Yung isang coin naman ay tail. Therefore, meron tayong one number of tail. Next, third toss, for example, we'll get two heads. So you have dalawang tao. For the fourth toss, we'll have tao and then head. So these are the possible outcomes na pwede nating makuha. Okay, wala naman ng dagdag to kasi kapag nagdagdag tayo ulit, mauulit yung outcome na dalawang tail tsaka dalawang head. So hanggang dyan na lang yung mga possible outcomes kapag ka nag-toss tayo ng dalawang coins. Okay? So, now, meron na tayong number of heads dito that na na-record na natin. So, as you can see, we have four possible outcomes of getting a head. So, we have four possible outcomes. Now, yung number of head, this is the event na pwede nating i-assign sa X or the random event which is X. This is the number of heads. Ito yung problem na sinasolve natin. Sabi na natin kanina, we assigned X, uppercase X, to the random event that we're doing. So we have a random event of X which is getting the number of heads. And as you can see, the result here, we have 0 number of heads, we have 1 number of heads, and we only have 2 number of heads. The possible outcomes that we were able to generate is 4 outcomes. Okay, we have 4 likely outcomes na pwedeng mangyari. So for the probability of X, lowercase x, okay, what is the probability or what is the chance now of getting 0 head out of, in tossing 2 coins? We only have 1 probability or 1 chances of getting no head at all in tossing a pair of coins. So we have 1/4 chance. Okay, what about if we want to get, or the probability of getting 1 head in tossing a pair of coin? As you can see, we have 2 equally likely outcomes of getting 1 head in tossing a pair of coins. So that is 2/4. And in getting 2 heads, we only have 1 chance of getting 2 head out of 4 possible outcomes or possible event of getting 2 heads in tossing a coin. So if you're going to simplify 2/4 right here, we'll have 1/2. Ayan. Probability distribution, in probability distribution, we have to express this one into decimal point or decimal number. So 1/4 right here is equivalent to 0.25. 0.25. 1/2 is equivalent to 0.5. And 1/4 is equivalent to 0.25. So this is the figure of the event of getting head in tossing a pair of coin. Okay, so pag nag-toss kayo ng coin, meron kang 1/4 chance of getting no head at all dun sa coin. You have 1/2 or 50% chance. For express this kasi in terms of percent, you have 25% chance, you have 50% chance, and 25% chance. So in tossing a pair of coin, you'll get 25% chance of getting no head at all in tossing the coin. You have 50% of chance in getting at least one head in tossing a pair of coin. And you'll get a 20% chance of getting two heads. Okay? In two heads ba? Yes, in getting two heads in tossing a pair of coins. So, kung makikipag-Caracross kayo, ito yung mga chances na pwede kayong manalo wherein merong dalawang tao ang magpapakita doon sa inyong Caracross. So, mas mataas yung chances na pwedeng dalawang tao yung haharap doon sa inyong coins. So, that is the purpose now of illustrating probability distribution for this particular event. And ideally, this is the explanation for the first example, which is in constructing a pair of coin twice, you know. So that's it, guys. I hope na gets natin. So for the next videos, i-discuss kung ano pa yung pwedeng maging examples natin for the probability of discrete random variable.